everyone, welcome to Insights. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. These days when we'll talk about the coronavirus pandemic and how it has created a new reality, it may not really sink in until perhaps you have a personal touch. No doubt the world over people are feeling the pains, and for some it is very personal. On this episode we'll bring you the story of someone who came face to face with this invisible and dreaded enemy, and I'm happy to say won the fight. We'll also, in the course of this episode, recall the previous interview with a medical doctor on how best to boost the body's immune system. Elizabeth Omori is also on set. Elizabeth.
Well, it's nice to be here again, and as we all know, COVID-19 is a genuine shock to life, which has been able to redefine human interaction. Well, as we fight COVID-19, there's a group of people called essential workers. How have they been coping? Now, my guest on the media review segment will be explaining to us how he's been coping, serving humanity, and informing the populace as we fight COVID-19.
Very well. Earlier, I had a rather intriguing and gripping conversation with one of the survivors of the coronavirus outbreak in Nigeria. Olawale Bukola Olokpade joined us from Lagos via Skype. Former Commissioner for Sports Ogun State and so one of the survivors of the coronavirus infections in Nigeria, Olawale Bukola Olokpade. Welcome to Insight.
Good morning. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations on your recovery. But forgive me, I'm going to have to ask you to relieve the rather horrific experience you had upon learning that you tested positive to the coronavirus infection, to the coronavirus after you received your test from NCDC. Can you take us through how the experience was for you? Were you perhaps depressed upon getting this news?
Well, the most difficult aspect for me was the cough and the blinding headache. And I've already gone into isolation. But luckily, after 4 days of treatment, the headache and the cough disappeared just as it came abruptly. So when I called for the test, the transition period was 3 days waiting for the test results. I wasn't too worried during the transition because, like I've always said, after studying the DNA of the virus and knowing my travel history, I was sort of uncomfortable with the DNA, and I told my family and friends that only God was going to save me from not catching this virus, because normally, even when you are down with cough or cold, and I come near you, I 9 out of 10 times tend to catch the cough or cold. So I was really worried. But to your question, when the result came from Portugal, that's Monday afternoon, I must confess I felt sick from my tummy. I was nauseated. I started sweating, and all of that came from the fact that even where I knew that there was a possibility, the reality was different to actually swallow. But within a few minutes, I was back on my feet. I was strong enough, and I packed my stuff and headed to Yaba for further treatment.
Your family, of course, was in the know as regards your travel history, and of course they must have been just as anxious as you were while you waited for the result from NCDC. What was their reaction when they also heard the news? How did you break it to them?
My wife and my mother, for example, were skeptics about this virus. But when I told them the results. It became a reality that someone close to them was telling them that, well, I've been diagnosed with a virus. So it was a stunner for the two of them. So naturally, as expected, I was watching them from the CCC, the 12 years breakdown started. I had to call the intercom to explain to them that, look, this is not a death sentence. I'm strong enough. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to ensure that this thing leaves my body. But in the final analysis, we should be grateful to God that we have a system that's been able to diagnose me and able to inform me quickly that I'm positive. So I was able to calm them down, and immediately what I got was full support in prayers, in love, and every other thing that I needed.
I cannot say enough of these, but of course you remain an inspiration to many of us. You're a testament to the fact that this invisible enemy is defeatable. Your case was managed in Lagos, in the isolation center in Yaba, precisely in Lagos.
Yes.
Can you tell me some of the high and low points that you had while you were there?
But I think the first day was a rude shock, because I'd expected I was going to be in a room to myself. But when I got there, they were struggling with getting the room. So they actually put me under the tent with, I think, 14 other people. So that was a rude shock. But I quickly turned that to positive by the second day, by making new friends who have become my brothers today. And I just settled down for my body to be able to take the treatment. That for me would have been the only low, because after that, like a Boy Scout, I had settled down, and after 2 days, I was moved to my own room and ward. And the medical staff, from the doctors to the nurse and the domestic workers, were amazing. The way they treated us was something I'd never seen before in this country. I mean, though it was my first time of attending a government hospital, but these guys are just God sent to everybody that goes to Yaba, and I'm sure Unicon. So yeah, I can confidently say there were no lows as such. However, by day 14, when I saw the way people were being discharged, some even who met me there, I sort of got sad, and I don't want to call it depression, but I was low in spirit, and I was beginning to wonder what was wrong with me, that I wasn't getting discharged and I wasn't getting negative results, because my results kept on coming back positive. I think for almost 5 times. So yeah, that can also be described as a low, because at that period I needed to be strong mentally, and that was when I took up my exercises, jogging and lifting of heavy cooler in my room that was always stocked with stuff, and that sort of helped me to leave that out.
I came across something you said somewhere out there. In fact, you put it out a couple of days ago, that when you were in your ward, 4 of the patients that were there actually lost the battle and passed on. And at that point, it was quite frightening for you. Can you just, sorry again, but can you just help take us through what that experience particularly said to you at that point in time?
So when I started, I mean, especially next door to my room, when one or two people started dying, that was traumatic to me. Because now this is too close to home, and because I also suffer from asthma. I don't know if it was panic attack. My asthma now sets in. So that was a period that was worrisome to me. But again, like I said, I did talk to a few of the doctors who were quick to calm me down, including the MD of the facility, Dr. Bowale, who came to see me in my room and just said, Mr. Olopade, calm down. We are treating you well. You are responding to treatment well. And really and truly, my blood pressure had come to the all-time low. It was good. My temperature was very good. I felt inside of me, apart from the asthma attack that I got a day after one of the guys died, which I thought was a panic attack. People tend to say I'm a strong man, but guess what? When a strong man gets to where fear is, that man will definitely panic.
Of course, we've seen some of the strongest come down, and it's actually the coronavirus. One of the things it has made us understand now is that it's a leveler, but if you have a very good immune system, it kind of boosts your confidence and ability to fast track your recovery, like it has happened in your case. But very, very quickly, let me ask you this: a lot of Nigerians are intrigued at how at the relatively good recovery rates that we have in Nigeria. There is actually no known cure yet for coronavirus as it is right now in the country. But we've seen persons like yourself recovering after a couple of weeks. Say in your case it was 3 weeks, as a matter of fact. Can you tell us, or perhaps give us an insight into the kind of management you got while you were at the isolation center? Perhaps tell us about the kind of food you were served. We've heard some people say that when you take alkaline-based foods and fruits, that it could help boost your immune system and help with your recovery. Was that what played out in your case?
I keep repeating this. The medical team, from the doctors to the nurses to the domestic staff, were amazingly kind. They gave us a level of comfort that ensured that we were psychologically balanced and the treatment was flowing. But secondly, from home, a support system that was bringing food for me every day. I still ate the food there. The food there was amazing. It was good. But I also had a support system that was bringing me alkaline drinks, a lot of fruit juice, freshly squeezed. But look at it. Despite all of that, people were not having. Although I was sharing it with some of my fellow patients, but look at that. People who were not having those stuff were still getting healed and cured and living even before me. So it's your body system. Once your body system responds well, the treatment that they are giving is amazing. You will get to leave the place and be better for it.
How were you able to psych yourself? I mean, psych up yourself. I mean, you saw people lose the battle. You saw people struggle to get well. You saw people exhibit far more severe symptoms than you did. I mean, what was the resounding thought in your head? What was the message in your head? What was the ultimate goal for you? Did you tell yourself that, look, I have to make it against all odds, I have to make it? What was the mantra for you at that point of this experience?
So my philosophy has always been that my prayers must go along the lines of my father. My father in his lifetime would say, Father, Lord, when it is time to pay my debt, just take me, do not let me fall sick. Do not let any alien come into my body. But if an alien comes into my body, give me the fortitude to fight it, because I know that it's not the kind of death you have created for me. And that was my mantra. My mantra was, I know when it is time to pay the debt, I will sleep and not wake up. But this one, I will fight and defeat, because this is not my portion. So before I left home, I had mental strength and stability. So I'm going to fight this no matter how long it takes, and I'm going to come out stronger for it.
Okay, great. Earlier on, I asked you to relive your horrific experience upon learning the results of your test. Now I'm going to ask you to relive the rather joyous moments you had upon learning that you have finally tested negative and that you were set to be discharged from the hospital. Please tell us about the last moments you spent there. Or perhaps, did you, upon learning that you were negative at last, did you perhaps, did it occur to you at any point that, no, I have made new friends and new families here, let me just spend some more time with them instead of going back home?
So you are kind of spot on, because on Saturday I'd received one of the results, so I tested negative on Thursday. So I was really hoping to leave on Saturday, but when Dr. Boale came to me and said it was positive again, that was another low for me. I felt really sad, and so I have a way of handling such situations. I just go to sleep and blind myself from the world. So I went to sleep early, woke up on Sunday, took my shower, brushed my teeth, did my exercises, had breakfast, went back to sleep. But at about 2 p.m., I just heard this loud noise of gospel music, resonating in my room. And I thought, what kind of noise is this? So I got up and I saw the artist that was brought by the Lagos State government to entertain us singing, and I just started dancing. And I danced to his songs for almost 2 hours. I enjoyed it. I sweated, and I felt so good. But I was also expecting another result. At about 7 p.m., I got a call from Dr. Adejimo, who said, "You've come back with a negative again. You are going to be tested on Monday. Let's hope by Tuesday you're negative again." But that moment, I was filled with the Holy Spirit. I was confessed. I was so convinced that Tuesday was going to be negative. So, I just continued doing my own thing and sleeping and waking up. So when the result, to your question, when it came on Tuesday that it was negative and I was leaving on Wednesday morning, that thought did come to me that, wow, now I've made friends with medical staff. they're like family, and now I'll be leaving. So it was mixed feeling. On the one hand, I was so joyous. I was going to see my 5-year-old daughter. I was going to see my family. I was going to see my wife. I was going to see my friends. I was leaving that facility, going back home earlier than I got there. And on the other hand, I was like, okay. But I was quick to tell myself that these guys have become my friends. So anytime I want to see them, anytime. And so on my way, I went. I drove myself back because I wanted to ensure that I was back in society very well. The drive from Yaba to Magodo was beautiful. I enjoyed it, listening to classic FM, just literally enjoying myself until I got home. And that evening, I was just anxious to go and ride my bicycle, and I did. And observing social distance, I was just riding my bicycle in front of my house, back and forth in front of my house, and that really settled me down back into society.
Very quickly before I let you go, I'm sure your family is glad to have you back. How was the reception for you when you got back home?
Well, it was controlled because I was given 5 days to see social distancing, even with family. So it was controlled. My 5-year-old daughter would not even come near me because apparently she's been reading a lot and listening to a lot of cartoons on coronavirus. And she quickly gifted me by saying, "Daddy, I need to stay away from you for some time." So that's the only kind of stigmatization I got from my daughter. But as of yesterday, he said, "Daddy, can I come to you?" I said, "Wait, it's just 2 more days for 5 days. Let me do the 5 days, go back to Yaba and get you up, and then I'll give you the business hug." So it was controlled. People everybody were happy. My mom was singing and joyous, but it was controlled. They didn't come near me.
I would like to ask you this. Were members of your family tested as well? Have they been ruled out of possible infection?
Everyone one of them tested negative twice.
That's glad to know. That's glad to know. I'm sure you're aware of, in fact, you just made allusions to... Yes, please. Continue, please. Please continue.
And all my management staff, my people who work closely with me, all came back negative.
That's glad to know. Glad to know. I'm sure you're aware of, in fact, you just made allusion to stigmatization now of infected persons or patients who contracted coronavirus. I mean, you're a tested soldier. I mean, you're tested, you're battle ready. How are you helping to fight this invisible enemy? What opportunity are you using the opportunity of your recovery to send out a message out there for people to stop stigmatizing infected persons or people with symptoms or similar symptoms? I beg your pardon.
Well, I'm sure you've seen a few other interviews I've done, and emphasis has been always on stigmatization. Luckily for me, I've not experienced any kind of stigmatization in my own community. Everybody have been amazing. You know, people seeing me on the front area of the gate and just saying, "Congratulations, Mr. Nobody. Glad to have you back." Everybody have been amazing, you know, so I've not witnessed any kind of stigmatization. However, I mean, there was a joke thrown at me yesterday, and I'm the sort of man who tends to examine every joke. Somebody threw a joke at me yesterday and said, "I'm sort of funny. This campaign you are doing on COVID-19, asking people to stay at home and everything, how much did NCDC and Lagos State government pay you?" It was an irritating joke, and I made it clear to the gentleman that made the joke that there's nothing to be joking about here.
Of course.
I've seen 1 or 2 publications from you saying that COVID is not real. Maybe you should escort me here, but let somebody argue, and let's see in 14 days whether COVID is a joke.
I consider that a very good retort.
I'm sorry. And he started apologizing. And I said, "Well, in reality, you should not joke about this thing. When people are telling you that this thing is real, and we are making an effort to ensure that people understand that they must stay at home, they must wash their hands, they must keep social distancing. It is not because we want to be appearing on TV. I've been appearing on TV when I was a child, debating for my school. So the TV is not to me. But I'm saying that I am successful within me. It is important for me to reach out to them to let them understand that this is real. Please respect what government is saying. Exercise all the caution that's been given out, not just by government, by international bodies, and by people like you, Nnamdi, who have been talking to people for many weeks on how to ensure that they keep themselves safe. You know, so people should not joke about this thing. It's a nasty virus. I've felt the impact and I've beaten it. And I can tell you for free that it's a nasty virus. So if programs of this nature are the sort of programs that we must continue to use to reach out to people to say, please, please and please, respect everything government is telling you, respect everything health workers are telling you, respect everything people like Nnamdi, who are also heroes of this war, are telling you. Like I said,
you're the hero, yeah.
If there was a war and bullets are flying and grenades are flying, where would you be? You'll be in your house. You'll be in a secure place. So pretend that this is a war and this virus is a bullet that can spread easily. So stay in your home, stay in your corner, and ensure you stay social distancing. So that at the end of the day, by the time all of this clear, by God's grace, to find a vaccine, you would have said, I was careful enough not to have caught this thing. I caught it in my travels. If I had not traveled and had stayed in one location, I'm sure I would have caught it.
Like I said earlier, you are a tested soldier. You are battle ready, and we want to thank you very much for coming on NTA, coming on Insight to share your experience with us. Just before I let you
go, Before I go,
Yes, please.
can I quickly say this?
Yes, please.
I want to continue my thank you to health workers, the doctors, the nurses, the domestic staff, the security guards at the IDH in Yaba who looked after us, are heroes. And all across the country, health workers are heroes in this pandemic. And
Indeed.
it has given me a new education on how we must not just respect health workers, but we must all come together to ensure that we look after them. We must look after them. And this is why I'm creating a foundation called Med Heroes for short, but Medical Heroes for long. But for short, Med Heroes, I've already put together a structure. I'm getting it registered. I'm going to go out and reach out to people to support this foundation so that we can use this foundation to start supporting our healthcare workers, from doctors to nurses and domestic staff, because you will be shocked at the kind of care they give to us. My room was cleaned every 2 hours, swept every 2 hours. The toilet was disinfected every 2 hours. It was so uncomfortable because I knew I was in the pet's hands looking after me, and I was so sure I was going to leave that place stronger.
I'm
and
very sure
healthier.
you're going to get
And these
willing
guys,
partners out there to partner with you in this foundation. I'm very sure you would go very far in helping or rendering assistance to our medical heroes out there. But very quickly, before I let you go, on a final note, I know this has impacted your life forever, a life-threatening virus, as it were. How has it changed your life? How has it changed your daily routine? Either to how was it, and now how has that changed for you?
Funny enough, I was just saying that I see this period, adaptation period for me, even at home, being able to leave my room, because I still sit in my room alone, for the 5 days. And I was saying to my wife that this is a rehabilitation period for me, but that on sober reflection, a whole lot of things naturally will change about me without me even knowing. I'm more conscious to so many things, many that I cannot start to mention now. It's humbling. It is humbling, and when humility sets in, all sort of good things will come with that. So I just wait to see how my life goes from here. But I'm extremely grateful to family support. The family support I have is tremendous. My friends are amazing. My friends have been amazing, and the prayers and the sing songs I've been getting from friends and family has really made it more relaxing and settling for me.
Olawale Bukola Olokpade, we want to thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. You remain an inspiration to all of us. We want to wish you very well in life. Thank you so much for coming on Insight.
Thank you, Namdi. God bless you.
I believe we can all relate to the experience of Bukola Olakpade, and in the interest of safety, let's please take to heart the recommendations of personal hygiene by washing our hands and using alcohol-based hand sanitizers. I did mention at the onset that we will recall a previous interview with a medical doctor on how best to boost the body's immune system as a way of boosting our chances of fighting off possible infection or reducing the impact of the virus upon likely infection. Let's bring you excerpts from that interview. Dr. John Thor Abidai, Director Executive in-country Medicare, joins us now. He's also the Secretary General, Integrative Medicine West Africa. Welcome to Insight.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here.
Talk to me about boosting the immune system now, because it would seem that this is quite critical in tackling, for the spread of the virus as it is. How can we Or how should we? What practices can we or should we engage in at this point to boost our immune system in fighting this pandemic?
Fantastic question. Let me take that question from back and then I'll go in the front. First of all, let me highlight some few ways which would actually deplete our immune system, things that we should not do. And then I will tell you things that you will do to boost your immune system. Take, for example, if you do not have adequate sleep, it affects your immune system. If you consume high amount of sugar, and what I mean by sugar in this case is refined sugar. Refined sugar is known to suppress your own immune system. If you involve yourself or indulge in some illicit or risk factors that lead to depletion of the immune system, such as smoking, such as excessive drinking of alcohol, these are things that will actually work against your own immune system. Also, stress. If you are overstressed, studies have shown that there is a direct correlation between stress and immune system. Now, having said those factors that you must take in consideration that they work against your system, how do you boost your immune system? That is your question. I would like to put them in this order, not in any importance way, but food, the type of food that you eat is very important, because your food, that is your nutrition, and we know that nutrition plays a key role in our immune status. And the type of food also, this day we learn a lot of emphasis on quality oil for cooking, because the cell membrane that is involved in all activities, including immune cells, the membrane has to be lined with the right type of lipid. Those are the oils. And here is where our omega-3 comes in very handy. You should take good quality omega-3. Okay. Then you are looking at what we call detoxification. 80% of our immune system is actually generated from the gut. And if you have a clean gut, it creates a balance between the useful bacteria and the bad bacteria. If there is that balance between the useful and the good bacteria, it leads to a condition known as dysbiosis. And with dysbiosis, you have a compromised immune system. Your immune system keeps going down. Now, how do we also have, in addition to good food and then the good oil, we also encourage the use of probiotics. Probiotics, these are products that actually help with the growth of the good bacteria. Remember, I've said that 80% of our immune system is generated from the gut. So that really helps you do this. Then the other things you need to do includes things like exercise. You need to exercise, properly. What I mean by proper exercise? At least smart walking for about 30 to 40 minutes every day is strongly recommended, so that it will help build your own, immune system. Another factor, which we were just discussing before we came on air, is that of spirituality. Believe you me, spirituality is a component of your health care, and people should take this very, seriously. There is a field of science known as psychoneuroimmunology that definitely defines the connection between your soul, the central nervous system, and your immune system. So spirituality, your belief, whether Christian or Muslim, you have to have that belief that there is a greater creator. I'll use that, to tell you some of our own experiences. There is a woman who was being managed, and this is, I'm talking about integrative approach, using different modalities. And she was just not responding. And after in-depth questioning, she now confessed that she was so bitter in her heart that she did not forgive certain things that her father and uncle had done to her when she was young. And on counseling, and when she totally knelt down to forgive them, you see how this woman started responding to, treatment.
The recovery rate.
Yeah, recovery rate, improved significantly. So you have so many other factors that we can talk. I had earlier talked about sleep in the other way, but good sleep in the positive way will also help you, modulate, or what we call up-regulate your immune system. It enhances and boosts, the level of your, immune system. What do I mean by good sleep? Is what we call quality hour sleep. At least it is recommended that we sleep for 6 to 8 hours in the day. That is very important. And this must be quality hours. It doesn't mean that you start sleeping from 12 noon till 8 p.m., you've gotten 8 quality hours. No.
Do you see a lot of us doing that in Nigeria?
They do it. It is due to lack of information. But if you go to civilized worlds or people who know, who have the knowledge, the best time for you to go to bed is 8 p.m. Between the hours of 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Considering that a lot of people still work at that hour.
Oh, the work is very unfortunate. They are really working uphill against the immune system. And why is that so important? There is a chemical, and I keep hitting on this, melatonin. These are the hours which melatonin, which is known as hormone of sleep, is secreted in our body. Melatonin modulates the immune system. Melatonin regenerates and rejuvenates. The body cells. Melatonin detoxify, the body's, cells as well. So if you miss it, you are vulnerable to being attacked, or you are vulnerable and you will become immunocompromised. That is to say that your immune system will go down.
Fear, anxiety, rumors, stigma are fast becoming the greatest enemy in this fight against coronavirus, against the pandemic. And here in Nigeria, we see rising public anxiety, with more recorded cases and confirmed cases, and public anxiety rises as well. How can we effectively manage these issues, that is, manage anxiety now, public anxiety as it were? What can we do, not just as governments now, but as a people and a community as well?
Well, you see, the generation we live in now, that is, the internet stage, it has its own advantages and its own vices. You see, a lot of information flow goes on. But before I go further, let me summarize it in the words of, we like copying the U.S., and because I want to start, President Trump, the U.S. Surgeon General, and top scientists, medical scientists, have just told the Americans, we should not be afraid of COVID-19. That is, the Americans should not be. The correct thing for them to do, the right thing for them to do, is to make sure that they have a buoyant immune system. So that even if you take some of these protective measures that protects the virus from getting into your body, and unfortunately, if you're unfortunate that the virus enters your body, if your immune system is up, the virus will not do you anything. So, I told you earlier, there is a field of study known as psychoneuroimmunology. It addresses the impact of fear on the immune system. Fear actually causes stress on us. Stress is known to have effect on our adrenal glands. The adrenal glands now produce a stress hormone known as cortisol. Cortisol is known to be immunosuppressive. So, what do? Having gotten this knowledge now, please is an appeal. Just like President Trump and the Surgeon General of the United States assured Americans that they should not live in fear. And
the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has also assured Nigerians as well.
I just hope that we are listening, because honestly, I'm not calling against any of the measures that are being taken, but this should be at individual level. Don't live too much in fear. Let me tell you an example. Just yesterday, I have a sister who is also in integrative medicine. She came to visit me, and then we shook hands. The children they said, oh, Mom, they said us not to share. We both laughed. the mother told them, yes, it's people who don't understand. As long as you're taking those protective measures and your immune system is up and running, you don't have to fear. At least she raised the fear amongst the children.
At this point, what do you think should be done by the government and by Nigerians in containing further spread of the coronavirus here in the country?
Fantastic question. You have short-term solutions, and then you have long-term solutions. In terms of short-term solution, that is towards, you see, the bottom line is about our immune status. How do you boost our immune system or upregulate our immune system?
How quickly can one actually do that? Can you do that within like a week or two?
No. The question of immune system depends on how to do it. Take, for example, vitamin C, which is now being used all over the world, can boost your immune system within less than 3 weeks if you take the right amount of vitamin C. It is recommended that at least you take 5 grams of vitamin C in divided doses. For 3 days, you will see. Also, vitamin D is also very important. You see, most of us apparently are deficient in vitamin D. So if you take high doses of vitamin D, because vitamin D is involved amongst many other thousands of functions that it actually performs in the body, it is involved in upregulating our immune system. So you have a lot of other things that you can do. Minerals like zinc and copper, all of them you take, they upregulate your immune system. That is a short-term solution. But the long-term solution, the diet is very important. Make sure we contain metals, because we cannot continue living on this. Or if you're so deficient in your immune system and you boost it with some of these injectables with zinc and then vitamin C and vitamin D, then you can maintain it with a good diet. But for immediate these are very important and key things that we should embark on getting.
Thank you so much, Dr. John Thor B-Day. Thank you for coming on Insight. It's been a pleasure talking with you. It's been an insightful program, an enlightening one, and I want to believe our viewer out there has learned a lot just from listening to you. Thank you so much for coming on Insight. We hope to bring you back another time when we hope we would have successfully contained the spread of the virus in Nigeria, and then we'll take a review of our response plan and many more. Dr. John Thor Abida is the Director Executive in Country Medicare. He's also the Secretary General, Integrative Medicine West Africa. Well, that's it for our discussion segment on this episode. I'll hand you over now to Elizabeth Omoriyi for the media review segment.
With the risk involved in fighting COVID-19, government has a moral and economic responsibility to protect essential workers. As an essential worker, how have you been coping since the lockdown? My guest, who is an on-air personality with Beat FM, Chika Agu, will tell us how he's been coping since the outbreak of coronavirus in Nigeria. Chika, it's nice to have you in our studio.
Same here. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, let me go straight to the point. How have you been coping?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions for me, because on one hand, you have to be the cheerful guy, always on the radio. People wake up in the morning, because I'm on the morning show. So people wake up in the morning and they're looking forward to some form of hope that day. But then you also are getting the information firsthand. You are getting the raw data, and you then have to find a way to share this data with the people, because that's your job. The people need to get informed, right? Everything else is secondary. The information is important. So you see all this data. You then decide how is it going to make sense to these people without leaving them feeling depressed about the information. So you're sandwiched between your emotion and your responsibility. So sometimes you find a way to do it. Other times you're like, I'll just try.
It's really a roller coaster. Now, do you feel threatened or exposed?
Personally, I'm doing all that I can.
Okay.
I work with a company that has put some measures in place to ensure that staff members are reduced, or the risk of staff members being exposed to the virus is considerably reduced. So I used to have I have a co-host, but since the pandemic hit us, we've had just one person in the studio at the same time, and we've been able to reduce foot traffic in the office. So members of staff that can work from home have been equipped with all they need to work from home, so that there are not so many people in the office cramped up in a little space and spreading the virus if one person has it. So on my own part, I'm doing all that I can to make sure that I reduce my chances of infection. So I think that at this time, all I can hope for is that the people that I share space with, my neighbors, some of the other members of staff, are doing the things that they can to make sure that they also reduce their exposure to the virus.
Okay, people see you every day. You go out of the house, and they're like, hey, it's going again. At that point, how do you feel?
I mean, I'm lucky enough to live with people who understand what I do and why I have to go out every morning. And I also, try to show them that I'm sticking to the advised routine. I am leaving my house and going to work. At work, I am, distancing myself from others. I'm avoiding physical contacts. I'm staying clean all the time, washing my hands. Like when I was coming in here, I used the hand sanitizer at the gate. So I'm doing all of these things, and I keep telling them that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So everybody who stays around me, who shares a common space with me at home, knows that I would not put them in harm's way. And I think that sort of puts their mind at rest.
Okay. Now, permit me to use the word true. How true is social distancing in the workplace?
It is true.
Okay.
From my personal experience working at the Beats, it is true. We have a company policy where there is only one presenter on air at a time.
Okay.
Since the pandemic hit also, we have reduced the number of live guests coming into the studio. In fact, we don't even have live guests coming into the studio anymore. These things are now done remotely. The office has set up a private channel for us to have conversations with all of our guests without having to get them to come to the studio, because it's not also about us. It's also about them and the people that they live with. So we don't want to expose them to the virus by asking them to leave their house. At the workplace, some members of staff come to work every other day as opposed to come in every day. Some people don't even come at all. Whatever they have to do, they do remotely.
Yeah.
So if we have been able to reduce the number of people who come into the office, then we have been able to reduce the number of people who might have been exposed to the virus if we didn't do that. So at the moment, you would never find more than 6 person or 7 person running 2 radio stations at the same time, because every other thing has been programmed to work remotely. So I dare say that if social distancing is well planned out within the strength of the company or the strength of the community, then it is very effective.
Okay. Now let's talk about the lockdown. Do you think this has affected reporting?
Yes, it has. In the sense that it's been able to get people to think outside the box. So usually people would want to try the traditional method of reporting. Go out there, get the story, and bring it back to the studio and work on it. But these days, people are starting to, because you cannot do that trip anymore. So now people are more focused on what's most important, what's the most important detail that I need to take out of this. Also, it is helping us prepare for the future, where technology takes center stage in all that we do. So people are now looking to alternatives to, you know, coming into the studio. So you have on your mobile device a software that would take your voice, that you can edit them in. You know, you can also create a quick video if you're going to put them up on social media. You can create high quality videos that you can send back to the station and will be broadcast on TV. So we're now, you know, relying more on tech, and this is somehow, and I hate that it had to happen like this, but it is actually preparing us for the future of reportage and broadcasting in general.
Okay, now talking about technology, do you think the electronic media is getting boring, considering the fact that the social media is taking over or has taken over?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
because every time you switch on your TV, COVID-19, the radio, COVID-19, it's good. It's very important. We need to know what to do.
Yeah.
Help ourselves get updated. But every time COVID-19.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because the question is, it depends on what you're looking out for.
Okay.
I would never be bored of COVID-19 stories if that's all I'm looking for.
Okay.
I would never be bored of action movies if that's all I'm looking for.
Okay.
You know, so I think that what we want to be wary of is information overload. You don't want to put all the information on your audience at a time, because, you know, our brain takes up a lot of power processing all of this information. So you want to pace your audience, get them to, you know, enjoy all the programming that they have come to, you know, love you for, but also at the same time get them to understand that, hey, this is what's going on out there, and I owe it to you to inform you. So, you know, on electronic media, it is what it is. It has penetration in more homes than social media. So we still have that leverage over that. So people would continue to turn on the TV. You know, like most TV stations across Nigeria, you know, can be watched even if you don't have an antenna.
Okay. So, all right, Chika, before I let you go, how have you been keeping safe?
Well, as you can see,
do you wash your hands all the time? You sanitize?
I do. I first of all, I'm badly in need of a haircut and a shave, but I don't think that going to a barbing salon at this time would be a very good idea.
Okay.
And I'm not exactly skilled at, you know, grooming myself, so I'll just wait it out. I wash my hands all the time. Whenever I go outside, go back into the house, that's the first thing that I do. Wash my hand, try not to touch anything. In the house, I clean up all of my surfaces. I have bleach in my water. So when
you do that religiously? Cleaning the surfaces?
Because I'm a very, I don't want to say paranoid, but I have a flatmate.
Okay.
And I can only be sure of what I can control. And I can't control his movements
at all.
But then again, I'm blessed to live with somebody who understands, you know, the times that we're in. So it's great. Might as well be me in another body, but you still have to be cautious. So, you know, clean all the surfaces. There's bleach everywhere in there. You know, sometimes I just spray on them. That's easier. You know. I keep my space. When I came in here, I wanted to give you a handshake, but I couldn't. I'm sure you understood. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I do.
So, I'm trying all that I can. I'm following the directive from the government and other health workers, because I have friends who are doctors and nurses, and I don't want it to feel like whatever they're doing there is in vain. So I'm doing all that I can to make sure that I'm safe and, you know, reduce the workload on.
All right, Chika, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming to share your thoughts with us.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And that's it on the Media Review segment this week.
Well, this is where we draw the curtain on this episode of the program, Elizabeth.
Well, I am an essential worker. You are an essential worker. So please, if you are an essential worker, please stay safe.
Do stay safe until we come your way next week. My name is Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Keep watching Insight. We'll see you next week.